The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, the 22nd chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. Then the Pharisees went and plotted to entrap Jesus in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere, and teach the way of God in accordance with truth, and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this, and whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away. The Gospel of the Lord. Ever since I was a kid, I have enjoyed collecting coins. From an early age, it was fascinating to me to see coins from a time before I was born. And in some ways, holding a coin that is very ancient is a way of touching and feeling history. I still do feel that way, especially when I get to hold a coin like a Roman denarius. And as an adult, I began to collect coins from different countries that I traveled to. It was a neat way to remember the trip and also a cheap souvenir. And with the excuse of using them in teaching and preaching, that's how I started to buy coins like the Roman denarius. Figured I would add that to my collection as well. But as I've become older and learned more about these coins, I've realized that coins can actually tell you a lot. You can learn a lot about who people are, what they value, and what their history is, simply by what they put on their coins. A modern example of this is the euro coins. The euro has been used by 19 EU countries since the year 2000, and all of the euro coins are standard sizes and they have the same thing on the front. But each country gets to choose what goes on the back of those coins. And the images may include people who were important figures in their history. They may include national symbols that are important to their values, and they often include words and phrases that are mottos in their countries. Images on coins have meaning, and Jesus seems to have been particularly aware of that when he asked to see the coin in today's gospel reading. In one sense, Jesus didn't need to see the coin. It was probably the most common coin in circulation in the Roman Empire, and he and everybody else knew what it looked like. But the coin had meaning to the Romans, and also to the subjugated people who were forced to use it. And that was the real issue. See, every time a Jewish person had to see or handle a denarius, they saw on the front an image of the reigning emperor who demanded not only obedience, but worship. I mean, all the emperors considered themselves to be gods. And so for Jews, this always involved handling a graven image. And the question, did paying the taxes give assent to the emperor's egotistical claim to be a god? In theory, that was the question that they were bringing to Jesus. Every time a Jewish person had to see or handle or use one of those denarius coins, they saw on the back a symbol of Roman subjugation of other nations. And it was a reminder of their oppression. It was the Roman way of saying, "We've got you just where we want you." And every time a Jewish person had to see or handle or use that denarius, they saw the words that glorified the emperor as the master of all things. I mean, it was Roman propaganda, and they had to see those words every time they saw that coin. The coin itself was a loaded symbol. It indicated who the Romans thought was important, it showed what the Romans valued, and the words proclaimed Roman propaganda. And so Jesus asks to see the coin, not to learn what the coin looks like, but to make a point. And the point is this: if the image on this itty-bitty piece of silver can have such an impact, then what impact can you who bear the image of God, have on the world around you? Indeed, Jesus has to have in mind this notion from the creation story in Genesis that people have been created in the image of God. And therefore, like God's coins in the world, we show others who God is and what God values by how we represent who's important, what's important, and the words we use. Render to God the things that are God's is really simply another way of saying, be God's coin in the world around you. And just as the denarius circulated among people each and every day, we are called to be God's coin as we circulate in the lives of others in our world each and every day. And God makes an impact through us by the image we give of who is most important. Is it God, or is it really me? You know, there are places in our world where people really are persecuted for being Christians. And I mean, like, they get killed simply for identifying themselves as Christians or even just walking into a church building. But I worry about Christians in America when they act like we're being persecuted because people are dissing us or saying nasty things about us. I mean, isn't that supposed to be part of the program? Jesus says, expect this if you're my followers. And when we show righteous indignation for ourselves, are we lifting up Jesus as being the center? Or are we just showing that we're upset that we're not the center anymore? I mean, whose image are we showing the world around us? We are God's coin. We are going to show one image or the other. God can make an impact through us as God's coin in the world when people see in us what we value. Are we conveying the values of Jesus? Is helping my neighbor what I really value? Or am I more concerned with getting a tax break and looking good? Is including my neighbors what's important and what I value? Or is it just being around people who think like me, act like me, look like me, and share my political opinion? Is caring about people who have a more difficult life than me really worth my effort? Or is it only worth an effort if it doesn't cost me anything? Are our values and the way we live them conveying the values of Jesus to the world around us? The image that our values convey is going to show that. But God can make an impact through us, through the words that we use, the words that are stamped on us, the words that come out of our mouths. You know, many American coins have words like liberty or in God we trust, and sometimes we sit back and say, do we really mean those things, or are they just things we stamp on our coins to make us feel better? So what about the words we use about Jesus and for Jesus? Do we use words that convey a sense of confidence in Jesus' love or insecurity? Do our words about Jesus convey promise or judgment? Do our words about Jesus tell the world around us something they would not know about God if we were not there to say those words? See, here's the thing. Each and every day, Jesus has called us, each one of us, to be God's coin in the world. And so as you circulate around, be God's coin in the life of those around you. Be someone who shows the image of God to the world by the way you live your life. Be someone who shows the image of God to the world by sharing the values that Jesus values. And be someone who shows the image of God to the world by using words to convey words that, frankly, the world doesn't hear a lot of lately. Words of hope and promise and confidence in God's love and God's presence. Amen.